To know more about this issue, we are now joined with a researcher from CSIS, Dandy Rafitrandi. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming by.
Good afternoon.
Yes, so it is widely, very much talked in Indonesia because I guess the society also would like to know the progress about this Apple 16. Is it going to happen? Is it going to enter Indonesian market or not? So Apple did propose to invest in Indonesia, but the Ministry of Industry said, Mr. Agus Gumiwang Kartasasmita, that the 1 billion of investment is not enough, right? So in your opinion, what specific aspects of Apple's investment proposal did not meet the fairness criteria for an investment that comes to Indonesia?
Right. I think fairness is quite subjective here, right? So if you want to tell whether it's fair or not, you have to take some indicators. That's why I think the minister used, for example, how big is the investment compared to our market, compared to the sales of Apple, for example, in Indonesia, and also compared to other countries, in Vietnam and India. And I think later on, he also mentioned about how big is the job creation that the investment will give. So I think based on that, I think it's I think the summary that I can tell is that there's a gap of expectation from both sides. I think from Apple itself, it's not really how the business see this when you want to invest in one country. That's not really the metrics that they use, right? It's all about sustained supply chain. It's all about regulations and certainty, for example. And then it's all about how ready is the ecosystem itself in the industry domestically. So that's the metrics that usually tech company use and try to decide whether we want to invest in country A or country B, country C. So I think this negotiation is sort of like a process of coming into the middle and how big is the expectation can be narrowed from both sides. So yeah. Let's see how it goes.
All right, so it is still in the stage of discussions, and
Right.
you're looking at possibilities that Apple might reconsider and perhaps added, items in the proposal.
Yep.
All right, so what are the potential benefits as well as the risks of accepting Apple's proposal if we do say yes?
Yeah, I think around this negotiation, it's already some proposals, and as you already mentioned, we have this proposal in another factory in Batam.
Yep.
And also, I think in West Java, they're trying, in Batam, they're trying to have this manufactured of AirTags. Yes, AirTags, which is quite more simpler than iPhone and iPad and other Apple products. But I think it can be a good start to start somewhere and then try to see whether the domestic industry can actually catch up with the more sophisticated supply chain and also manufacturing that it's actually needed for higher technological products such as iPhone and iPad. Yeah.
Okay, but the fact that you were saying one of the next best after China is perhaps Vietnam. I mean, it's been going on for some years that Vietnam is the source of the powerhouse for Apple's chips and all that.
Yeah.
So what does it take for Indonesia? If we say, okay, our sovereign interest is that to have, job creations and all that, but what does it take for Indonesia to basically tick the boxes for Apple to see that this is a good destination for the investment?
I think one of the reasons should be on the ecosystem of itself. We're not only talking about the manufacturing industry, but we're also talking about the human capital, the human resources, the regulations. So I think we need to see that this problem is actually beyond of the manufacturing sectors itself. It's beyond the supply chain, beyond of the global value chain that we're trying to involve with, right? So I think if Indonesia can prove that, Indonesia have actually quite a lot of high quality human resources, we have consistent regulations, we have sustained supply chain, and we can be supported by the small and medium enterprises domestically to produce some more sophisticated products. I think Apple can look at us as one of the investment plays compared to Vietnam. Right now, I think Vietnam has quite a lot of problem in terms of increase in wage costs. So I think there is a benefit right now in Indonesia to be more competitive than Vietnam, and I think we can do it.
All right. I mean, let's learn from the Apple's, example or Apple case here for an investment that comes to the country. Could Apple's increased, investments set a precedent again, maybe for the next foreign tech companies to enter our country?
Well, we hope so.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think the other tech company will see this very clearly as a commitment from the government to enforce the local content requirement. For example, to enforce that you committed already investment in certain values, then why there's no such thing, for example. And if you commit, for example, to have a plan, like where is it now? I think. And also the momentum of the new government also I think the government really think that this is a good time for them to to start evaluating their policy right now and trying to see is this really the good quality investment, or it's just the number. Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that let's not look only to the numbers, right?
Yes.
We just don't want to reach a quick win, but we want something sustainable. So how can we do this? I mean, we're looking at other companies as well that have had their representative offices here, their buildings and all that, but we haven't seen any from Apple. So why are they becoming so, what would you say, careful in this matter?
Right.
Yeah.
I think I've been to the Apple Academy actually. Yeah, that's one in BSD, Tangerang Selatan. I think they choose the other track of contributing to the economy. That's why they have this Apple Academy that train quite a lot of developers, software engineers, and trying to make a local applications. And that's actually good, right, for our human resources. But of course, the government always wanting more, right? We need like how many jobs they created, how many investment. But
other indicators as you
exactly, and I think human resources is quite a long-term indicators, right? So this sort of like a mismatch of expectation that I talked to you in the beginning. I think this is where the problems lies on.
Now, how might enforcing these regulations influence Indonesia's manufacturing and tech ecosystem?
Right. I think in terms of tech ecosystem, if we're talking about the regulation, I think the local content requirement will be very important because there's a plan to increase from 35 to 40%. And
TKDN.
Yes,
40%.
the TKDN.
Local.
Yep, and I think the government already have a comprehensive study. Of course, they should have one before this plan. But yeah, we have to look at the readiness of the ecosystem of the tech company, whether the industry, the domestic human resources, the small and medium enterprises are really ready to provide this 5% increase that is actually needed for the TKDN.
Right. So what do you think, the potential avenues for, reaching the current impasse between Apple and Indonesian government? Should we say, yes, 1 billion, that's fine as a good start, but not yet iPhone 16, or how?
Okay, I think we already come into some conclusion in the middle, but I think we're getting there. The Apple already have some proposals in terms of as I mentioned, more factories, for example, in Batam and West Java, and I think Indonesia also should consider this aspect because one of the reasons I think that Indonesia should be careful is the next president is President Trump, right? I think it would be more complicated if the President Trump know this, that Indonesia sort of like wait and see of investment, Apple investment, like wanting billions of dollars. I think if he sees that, I think we're in quite a problem because first of all, we have a trade deficit in the U.S., so we're on the radar. Yeah. So I think we have to be quite careful to, dancing in the both sides and how to, have a equilibrium in the near future and also
Good to
with
put
Apple.
into notes
Yeah.
as well. So the Indonesian government has a policy, as you mentioned, of a required minimum of 40% domestic
Right.
component level or TKDN for
Yeah.
products sold within the country. How can the government ensure that its implementation does not lead to some kind of unintended consequences?
Right.
Because this is very local to our interests, right?
Yep.
Such as increased prices for consumers or a decline in product quality.
Yep, yep. Of course, this policy is not really happening in Indonesia. It's also happening in other around the world. But I think the important is we have a monitoring and evaluation phase that is actually robust. So whether we can actually see whether the increase from 35 to 40% is actually makes sense for us. So if it doesn't make sense, then we have to go back to our policy and even like eliminate the policy. So
Right.
yeah, we cannot have the policy that is not working, right? So what's the main function of the policy if it's not working? So I think monitoring and evaluation should be there.
If we look back, once Tim Cook said that the reason they picked China as factory is not because they are cheap, but because they are more ready. I
Of
mean,
course.
the ease of doing business
Of course.
is better, and also, infrastructures and all that.
Yes.
So how prepared is Indonesia to get to produce
Yeah,
Apple product, not an AirTag, like a keychain that not everybody would probably use, right? Or need.
Yeah, that's actually our homework. For example, we have this study from one of our study from our research telling that one of the problem of Indonesia's investment from the foreign perspective is actually the regulation. So if the regulation is not consistent throughout the years, and the government, the company may change each year, and this will cost very big, significantly from the company side. And for example, the omnibus law, that is now it's giving the uncertainty again. For example, the upah minimum, the minimum wage, right? So this is becoming very important for Indonesia, and this is not looks quite good in terms of the foreign companies and especially the tech companies.
All right.
Yeah.
We're looking for investment to better up our economy as well,
Yeah.
right? But how can this investment boost Indonesia's economy and job opportunities when we say yes to this 1 billion at least?
Yeah, of course, there's a job creation. It's always the thing that we need it, than we lack of right now. And we already probably know that we have this issue on the middle income issues that
Crap.
a lot of people that actually not having quality jobs, and we cannot afford good quality of infrastructure, education. And I think this is a very good opportunity for our middle class, and knowing that Apple is one of the big company in manufacturing and high-end and sophisticated manufacturing, and this can be a boost for our manufacturing industry. And you already probably know that we're having this deindustrialization, and manufacturing is creating less and less job, and hopefully this can be trying to boost our manufacturing industry, and that can provide more jobs for our middle class.
All right. Well, Dandy Rafitrandi of CSIS, thank you so much for speaking on Business Talk.
Thank you.
Yes, and please come again.
Yeah.
That was our conversation on Apple's investment in Indonesia. For today's Business Talk, you can stay connected with us on Instagram, X, and YouTube at CToday News. We are also available online at ctodaynews.com.